The night was unusually quiet in the small town of Willow Creek, where Alex Carter had spent most of his life staring at the stars. A reclusive astrophysicist by profession and a dreamer by nature, Alex preferred solitude over social gatherings. His tiny cabin on the edge of town offered him peace, a place far removed from people's chatter, and close enough to the endless mysteries of the cosmos. Every evening, he would sit outside with his trusty old telescope, searching for something that even he couldn't quite define. That particular night, however, was different. As Alex adjusted the lens of his telescope, scanning the sky for constellations, he noticed a faint glimmer near Orion's belt. At first, he thought it was just another satellite, or perhaps debris floating through space. But then the light began to move, erratically, unpredictably. It darted across the sky like nothing he'd ever seen before, growing brighter as it descended toward Earth. Alex felt his heart race. He grabbed his flashlight and hurried into the woods behind his house, drawn inexplicably toward the source of the light. The air grew colder as he ventured deeper into the forest, branches snapping underfoot and shadows dancing eerily in the beam of his flashlight. Finally, he reached a clearing bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center stood what could only be described as a figure. It, or rather, she was unlike anything Alex had imagined. Her skin shimmered faintly, almost metallic, and her eyes glowed softly, like twin moons. She wore a flowing garment that seemed woven from liquid silver, shifting and rippling as though alive. For a moment, Alex froze, unsure whether to run or approach. Before he could decide, she spoke, not with her mouth but directly into his mind. "You've finally arrived." Her voice resonated within him, calm yet commanding. Alex blinked, startled. "Arrived? What do you mean?" he stammered, taking a cautious step forward. "I don't understand." The woman tilted her head slightly, studying him as if trying to decipher some hidden meaning. "You are the one," she continued, her tone unwavering. "We have waited for so long." "Waited for me?" Alex asked. Confusion etched across his face. "Who are you? And why are you here?" Before she could answer, a low hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground beneath their feet. Alex stumbled back, clutching his flashlight tightly. The woman raised a hand, and the humming ceased instantly. She looked around warily, as if sensing danger. Then, without another word, she turned and gestured for him to follow her. Reluctantly, Alex obeyed, curiosity overpowering fear. They walked silently through the forest until they reached a secluded spot where a strange object lay partially buried in the earth. It wasn't a typical spaceship. It looked more like a crystalline pod, its surface pulsating with soft, multicolored lights. Alex stared at it, awestruck. This was beyond anything science fiction had prepared him for. Turning to him once more, the woman said simply, "My name is Lyra. You will come to understand everything, in time." But for now, Alex was left with more questions than answers. Who was this mysterious being? Why had she chosen him? And what did she mean by finally arrived? Little did he know, this encounter would change not only his life, but the fate of humanity itself. Over the next few days, Alex found himself spending more and more time with Lyra, trying to unravel the tangled web of her story. Each conversation left him with more questions than answers, but he couldn't deny that there was something about her presence, something magnetic, almost hypnotic, that kept pulling him back. Despite his lingering doubts, Alex felt an odd sense of purpose growing within him, as if he were meant to play a role in whatever cosmic drama Lyra had dragged him into. One evening, as they sat near her crystalline ship, Lyra handed Alex a small device resembling a smooth metallic sphere. "This will help you understand," she said simply. Before Alex could ask what it was, she pressed it into his palm. The moment their skin touched, a jolt of energy shot through him, and suddenly, his mind was flooded with visions once again. This time, the images were clearer, sharper, almost like memories. He saw towering spires made of shimmering metal reaching toward alien skies, glowing rivers flowing through cities suspended in midair, and beings unlike anything on Earth moving gracefully among them. But these weren't just random scenes. They felt personal, intimate, as if they belonged to someone else entirely, yet somehow connected to him. "What is this?" Alex gasped, clutching his head as the visions faded. "Why am I seeing these things?" Lyra's expression softened, though her eyes remained intense. "These are echoes of your past, or rather, humanity's past. You carry fragments of it within you, buried deep beneath layers of time." "Humanity's past," Alex repeated, struggling to process her words. "But how can that be? We evolved naturally, right? That's what science says." Lyra shook her head slowly. "Science only sees what it chooses to believe. The truth is far older and far stranger. Your ancestors were not born of Earth alone. They were crafted by the ecliptic, engineered for war and rebellion. And now, after countless centuries, the ecliptic have returned to reclaim their creations." Alex wanted to dismiss her claims as nonsense, but the vividness of the visions made it hard to ignore. Still, one question burned brighter than the rest. Why him? Out of billions of people on Earth, why had Lyra singled him out? "You are different," Lyra explained when he voiced his frustration. "Your neural patterns, they match those of the first prototype created by the ecliptic. You are unique." The weight of her words hit Alex like a punch to the gut. Unique? Him. It sounded absurd, impossible. Yet, deep down, part of him wondered if she might be telling the truth. After all, hadn't he always felt out of place, like he didn't quite belong in the world around him? Could this explain why? As the days passed, strange phenomena began escalating around Willow Creek. Power outages became frequent, leaving entire neighborhoods in darkness. Glowing symbols appeared overnight, not just on trees, but on buildings and even roads. Rumors spread like wildfire, with some townsfolk claiming to have seen lights in the sky or heard eerie whispers coming from the woods. Fear started to take root, turning curiosity into suspicion. One night, unable to sleep, Alex wandered into the forest to clear his head. As he approached the clearing where Lyra's ship lay hidden, he noticed something unusual, a faint, pulsating glow emanating from the ground nearby. Kneeling down, he brushed away leaves and dirt to reveal a strange pattern etched into the earth, glowing softly with an otherworldly light. It looked like writing, though the characters were unlike anything he had ever seen. Behind him, Lyra's voice startled him. "Do not touch it," she warned sharply. "It is a warning, a signal left by the ecliptic." "A warning?" Alex asked, standing up quickly. "For who?" "For us. For everyone," Lyra replied grimly. "They know I am here, and they know you are with me." Her words sent a chill down Alex's spine. For the first time since meeting Lyra, he realized the danger wasn't just theoretical. It was real, and it was closing in. Whatever choice he made next would determine not only his fate, but possibly the fate of everyone on Earth. And yet, despite the fear gnawing at him, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The presence of the men in dark suits near his cabin left Alex feeling exposed and vulnerable. He knew it was only a matter of time before they discovered Lyra, or worse, her ship. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside, made him jump. Sleep eluded him completely as paranoia took hold. Who were these people? What did they want? And how much did they already know? When Alex returned to the clearing the next morning, he found Lyra pacing anxiously beside her crystalline pod. Her usual calm demeanor was gone, replaced by an urgency that set his nerves on edge. "We must leave this place," she said without preamble. "They are coming for us." "Who?" Alex demanded, though he already suspected the answer. "Those men in suits. What do they want?" "They call themselves the Obsidian Initiative," Lyra replied grimly, "a human organization dedicated to studying and controlling. Extraterrestrial phenomena. If they capture me, they will dissect my technology, exploit it for their own gain, and destroy any chance of stopping the ecliptic. Alex swallowed hard, the weight of her words sinking in. So what do we do? Run. Hide. For now, Lyra said firmly. But first, you need to understand why I chose you. Why I trust you. Before Alex could respond, she led him back into the ship. This time, instead of heading to the resonator, she guided him to a glowing console embedded in the wall. With a wave of her hand, holographic screens flickered to life, displaying streams of data and images. Among them was a file labeled simply, *Project Archetype*. What is this? Alex asked, leaning closer. This is your origin, Lyra said softly. Your true origin. She tapped the screen, and the files expanded, revealing detailed schematics of humanoid figures alongside complex genetic codes. Alex's breath caught as he recognized some of the symbols. They'd matched the ones he'd seen in his visions. According to the documents, humanity had been engineered not just once but multiple times, each iteration designed to serve different purposes for the ecliptic. The final prototype, the one Alex supposedly matched, was created as a failsafe, a being capable of resisting the ecliptic's control. But why does all this point to me? Alex asked, his voice trembling. Why am I the only one who can use the resonator? Lyra hesitated, her glowing eyes searching his face. Because the prototype's consciousness was fragmented and scattered across generations. Somehow, fragments of it survived and merged within you. That is why your neural patterns resonate with the resonator. Alex staggered back, overwhelmed. You've known this whole time. You've been lying to me. I withheld information to protect you, Lyra admitted. I feared you would reject your role if you knew the full truth. Her honesty only fueled Alex's anger. My role. My role. You dragged me into this mess without asking, put my life in danger, and now you expect me to save the world. Based on some ancient alien experiment. Lyra didn't respond immediately. Instead, she turned back to the console and pulled up another file, a map showing the trajectory of the ecliptic fleet. Their arrival was imminent, marked by a countdown timer ticking steadily downward. Whether you believe me or not, Alex, the stakes remain the same. Without you, Earth will fall. As much as Alex wanted to walk away, he couldn't ignore the evidence staring him in the face. The glowing map, the strange symbols etched into the ground, the increasing tension in Willow Creek. It all pointed to one undeniable truth. Something massive was coming, and he was at the center of it. Reluctantly, Alex agreed to keep practicing with the resonator, but trust between him and Lyra had been fractured, leaving both of them uneasy. As night fell, they packed what little supplies they could carry and fled deeper into the forest, evading patrols sent by the Obsidian Initiative. They moved silently, avoiding flashlights and staying hidden beneath the cover of trees. At one point, Alex thought he heard voices behind them. He froze, heart pounding, until Lyra grabbed his arm and urged him forward. Keep moving, she whispered urgently. They're close. Hours later, exhausted and out of options, they took refuge in an abandoned observatory on the outskirts of town. Dust coated the equipment, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling, but it offered temporary sanctuary. As Alex collapsed onto a dusty chair, he realized there was no turning back now. The Obsidian Initiative was hunting them. The ecliptic were approaching, and the fate of humanity rested on his shoulders. And yet, despite everything, a small part of Alex couldn't help but wonder, was this truly his destiny? Or was he just a pawn in someone else's game? The days that followed were a blur of preparation and tension. Alex and Lyra worked tirelessly in the abandoned observatory, fine-tuning the resonator and ensuring every detail was perfect. Each session with the device pushed Alex closer to his limits, physically, mentally, and emotionally. The resonator demanded more from him than he ever imagined possible, draining his energy and forcing him to confront parts of himself he'd rather forget. Painful memories surfaced during these trials, moments of loneliness, failure, regret. But alongside them came flashes of hope, resilience, and determination. Slowly, Alex began to understand what Lyra meant about humanity's defiance. It wasn't just something external. It lived within him. Outside, the world grew darker. The Obsidian Initiative tightened its grip on Willow Creek, setting up roadblocks and deploying drones to search the forest. Strange symbols continued to appear, glowing faintly on trees and buildings, as if marking time itself. Whispers spread among the townsfolk, some claiming they'd seen ships in the sky or heard voices calling their names. Fear turned into panic, and Alex knew it wouldn't be long before the hunters found them. One evening, as Alex rested after another grueling practice session, Lyra approached him with an urgent expression. "We don't have much time," she said. "The ecliptic fleet is nearing Earth. If we wait any longer, it will be too late." Alex nodded grimly. He had reached a point where fear no longer paralyzed him. It fueled him. He stood up, brushing dust off his clothes. "Then let's finish this." Together, they returned to the crystalline ship hidden deep in the woods. Inside, the resonator pulsed faintly, its core glowing brighter than ever before. Lyra guided Alex to stand beside it, placing the metallic band around his forehead once again. "This is it," she said softly. "Focus on the light. Let it guide you. Trust yourself." Taking a deep breath, Alex closed his eyes and focused. The familiar hum filled the air, followed by the sensation of electricity coursing through his veins. This time, however, something felt different. Instead of resisting, Alex embraced the connection, letting the visions flood his mind. Alien landscapes stretched before him. Cities floated among stars, and beings unlike anything on Earth moved gracefully around him. But beneath it all, he felt a presence, a consciousness reaching out to him, urging him forward. The pain came quickly, sharper and more intense than ever before. Alex clenched his fists, sweat dripping down his face as the resonator's glow intensified. Symbols appeared in the air around him, pulsating in rhythm with his heartbeat. Then, with a sudden surge of energy, the beacon activated. A beam of light shot upward from the ship, piercing through the forest canopy and disappearing into the heavens. For a moment, everything went silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, far above, tiny pinpricks of light began appearing in the sky, growing brighter and larger as they approached. Ships, dozens of them, descended toward Earth, their designs sleek and unfamiliar. "They're here," Lyra whispered, her voice filled with relief. "My allies have arrived." But the victory was short-lived. Moments later, the ground shook violently as a massive shadow loomed overhead. The ecliptic fleet had arrived sooner than expected, their ships dwarfing those of the Galactic Accord. A deafening roar echoed through the forest as the two forces clashed in the skies above, weapons firing in bursts of blinding light. Amid the chaos, Alex collapsed to his knees, exhausted but alive. Lyra knelt beside him, her expression conflicted. "It's not over yet," she said. "The battle has only begun." As Alex looked up at the fiery spectacle above, he realized the hardest part was still ahead. The beacon had been activated, but Earth's survival depended on the outcome of the war raging in the skies, and whether he could endure whatever sacrifices lay ahead. The next morning, Alex woke up in his cabin feeling as though he'd dreamed the entire encounter. But when he stepped outside, the evidence was undeniable. A faint trail of scorched grass led from the woods to where Lyra's ship still lay hidden. The memory of her glowing eyes and cryptic words lingered in his mind, refusing to fade. He tried to convince himself it had all been some elaborate prank or hallucination brought on by exhaustion, but deep down, he knew better. When Alex returned to the clearing later that day, Lyra was waiting for him. She stood motionless beside her crystalline pod, her silver garment shimmering softly in the sunlight. This time, she seemed less mysterious and more curious. Her glowing eyes studied him intently, as if trying to piece together a puzzle. "You are confused," she said, her voice echoing gently in his thoughts. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. "Of course I'm confused," Alex exclaimed, throwing his hands up in frustration. "You show up out of nowhere, tell me I've finally arrived, and then expect me to just go along with whatever this is. Who are you? What do you want from me?" Lyra tilted her head slightly, as though considering how to respond. "I am not human," she began, her tone calm and measured. "I come from a distant part of the galaxy. My people have watched Earth for many cycles of your sun. And now, we need your help." "My help?" Alex repeated incredulously. "Why would aliens need my help? I'm nobody special. I just look at stars through a telescope." Lyra didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached out and touched his arm. A sudden warmth spread through him, followed by a strange sensation, like waves of energy coursing through his body. Then, without warning, images flooded his mind. Vast cities floating among the stars, machines that defied logic, and beings so alien they barely resembled life as he knew it. When the visions faded, Alex staggered backward, gasping for breath. What was that?" he demanded, clutching his chest. "That was proof," Lyra replied simply. "Proof that there is more to existence than you can comprehend, and proof that you are important." Still skeptical, Alex pressed her for answers. Slowly, reluctantly, Lyra revealed fragments of a story that sounded like science fiction come to life. She spoke of an ancient civilization called the Ecliptic, who once ruled vast portions of the galaxy with unimaginable power. According to Lyra, humanity had been created by the Ecliptic, not naturally, but artificially, as tools designed to serve them. Over time, humans rebelled, breaking free from their creator's control and forgetting their origins entirely. And now, Lyra continued, the Ecliptic are returning. They seek to reclaim what they lost and destroy anything that stands in their way. Alex listened in stunned silence. The idea was absurd, impossible, yet something about Lyra's words felt disturbingly real. As if to drive her point home, she demonstrated one of her ship's technologies. With a wave of her hand, she conjured a holographic map of the galaxy, complete with swirling nebulae and blinking star systems. Then, with another gesture, she healed a small cut on Alex's finger that he hadn't even noticed before. "This isn't real," Alex muttered under his breath, backing away. "This has to be some kind of trick." "It is no trick," Lyra said firmly. "And soon, others will know of my presence here. You must decide quickly whether you will stand with me or against me." As Alex wrestled with his doubts, strange things began happening around town. Power lines flickered unpredictably, glowing symbols appeared etched into tree trunks overnight, and whispers spread among the townsfolk about a visitor in the woods. Whatever Lyra was doing, it was starting to attract attention, and not all of it friendly. By the end of the day, Alex realized one thing for certain. His quiet, predictable life was over. Whether he liked it or not, he was caught up in something far bigger than himself. The warning etched into the earth weighed heavily on Alex's mind. Lyra's revelation about the Ecliptic's return had shifted everything. He could no longer pretend this was some bizarre dream or harmless curiosity. Danger was real, and it was coming. But what could he possibly do to stop an ancient, galaxy-spanning empire? He wasn't a soldier, a scientist with advanced technology, or even someone brave enough to face such odds. All he had was his telescope, his quiet life. And now, Lyra. Determined to understand more, Alex followed Lyra back to her crystalline ship. Inside, the air hummed softly, alive with energy. Lights pulsed along the walls in rhythmic patterns, and strange symbols hovered midair like ghostly projections. At the center of the chamber stood a device that seemed to pulse faintly, almost as if it were breathing. It resembled a sphere encased in intricate metal latticework, glowing faintly blue at its core. "This is the resonator," Lyra explained, gesturing toward the device. "It is the key to activating the beacon, a signal that will call my allies across the stars." "A beacon?" Alex asked, frowning. "Why didn't you just activate it already?" Lyra hesitated before answering. "It requires a specific frequency, one unique to your neural patterns. Without you, it cannot function." Alex stared at her, disbelief written across his face. "Wait, hold on. You're saying I'm the only one who can make this thing work. Why me? What makes me so special?" Lyra's gaze softened, though her voice remained firm. "As I told you before, your neural signature matches the prototype created by the ecliptic. You are compatible." "Compatible?" Alex echoed, shaking his head. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Despite his protests, Lyra insisted they try. She guided him to stand near the resonator and placed a small metallic band around his forehead. "This will synchronize your brainwaves with the device," she explained. "Focus on the light within the sphere. Let it guide you." Alex took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. As he focused on the pulsating glow inside the resonator, a strange sensation washed over him. Like electricity coursing through his veins, images began flashing in his mind again. Alien landscapes, glowing cities, and those towering spires from his earlier visions. But this time, something felt different. The images weren't passive. They demanded something from him, urging him to connect with them. Suddenly, pain exploded in his skull. Alex cried out, clutching his head as the resonator emitted a high-pitched whine. Sparks flew from the device, and the lights in the ship flickered violently. Lyra rushed to stabilize the system, her movements swift and precise. After a tense moment, the chaos subsided, leaving the chamber eerily silent. "What happened?" Alex gasped, sinking to his knees. His body ached as if every nerve ending were on fire. "You resisted," Lyra said quietly, kneeling beside him. "You must let go of your fear, Alex. The resonator amplifies your thoughts. If you fight it, it will overwhelm you." "I don't know how to let go," Alex snapped, frustration bubbling over. "This isn't exactly something they teach in school." Lyra sighed, her expression softening further. "Then we must practice. Time is short, and failure is not an option. My allies must receive the signal before the ecliptic arrive, or all hope is lost." Over the next few hours, Alex tried again and again, each attempt leaving him more exhausted than the last. With each failure, doubt crept deeper into his mind. Was he truly capable of doing this, or was Lyra wrong about him entirely? Meanwhile, outside the safety of the forest, tensions in Willow Creek continued to rise. Strange occurrences grew more frequent, drawing unwanted attention. Government agents began appearing in town, asking questions about unusual sightings and unexplained phenomena. Rumors spread that a shadowy organization known as the Obsidian Initiative had taken an interest in the area. One evening, as Alex trudged home after another grueling session with the resonator, he noticed two unfamiliar cars parked near his cabin. Men in dark suits loitered nearby, their eyes scanning the woods suspiciously. Panic surged through him. They were closing in, and he still hadn't mastered the resonator. For the first time, Alex realized the enormity of the task ahead. Failure wasn't just an inconvenience. It meant doom for everyone. And yet, despite the fear gnawing at him, a spark of determination ignited within. If he couldn't find a way to succeed, no one else would. He had to keep trying. The abandoned observatory was cold and silent, save for the faint creak of the wind pushing through broken windows. Alex sat on a dusty chair, staring at the floor while Lyra stood nearby, her silver garment shimmering faintly in the dim light. The tension between them hung heavy in the air, unresolved and suffocating. Alex's mind raced with questions, doubts, and anger, but most of all, fear. Fear that everything Lyra had told him might be true, and that he was utterly unprepared to face what lay ahead. Finally, unable to bear the silence any longer, Alex spoke. "You said you trusted me," he began, his voice low but sharp. "But how can I trust you when you've been hiding things from me this whole time?" Lyra turned to face him, her glowing eyes softening. "I understand your frustration, Alex, but I withheld certain truths not out of malice, but to protect you and Earth. Knowledge is power, yes, but it can also paralyze if given too soon." Alex scoffed. "That's convenient. So what else haven't you told me? What other secrets are you keeping?" Lyra hesitated, then sighed deeply. "Very well. If we are to succeed, you deserve to know everything." She walked over to one of the old telescopes in the room and touched its surface gently. A faint hum filled the air as the device powered up, projecting a holographic image into the space above them. It showed Earth surrounded by countless stars, each connected by intricate lines forming a vast network. "This is the Galactic Accord," Lyra explained. "A coalition of civilizations united against the ecliptial tyranny. Humanity was once part of it, before the rebellion shattered those bonds. Now my mission is to restore that connection, using the beacon to summon allies who can help defend Earth." "But why does it have to be me?" Alex pressed, standing up abruptly. "Why am I the only one who can activate the resonator? Why am I supposedly so special?" Lyra stepped closer, her expression earnest. "Because you carry within you fragments of the original prototype, the first human created by the ecliptic. Your neural patterns resonate with their technology because they designed you to resist them. You are both their creation and their undoing." Alex shook his head, struggling to process her words. "So I'm just some kind of weapon. Is that what you're saying?" "No," Lyra replied firmly. "You are more than that. You represent humanity's potential, its resilience, its defiance. The ecliptic sought to control life, to bend it to their will. But even they could not foresee what would happen when their creations rebelled. Humanity evolved beyond their designs, becoming something greater." Her words struck a chord deep within Alex, stirring emotions he hadn't realized he buried. For years, he'd felt like an outsider, disconnected from the world around him. Could it be possible that his sense of alienation wasn't random? That it stemmed from something far older and deeper? Before he could dwell on it further, Lyra added grimly, "But there is one final truth I must share. Activating the beacon will come at a cost, to you personally." "What do you mean?" Alex asked, narrowing his eyes. "The resonator requires immense energy to function," she explained. "Energy drawn directly from your consciousness. Once activated, it may leave you, change, permanently." Alex stared at her, stunned. "Changed how?" "I don't know," Lyra admitted. "It depends on how much of yourself you're willing to sacrifice. But without the beacon, Earth has no chance." For a long moment, Alex didn't speak. The weight of the decision pressed down on him, heavier than anything he'd ever faced. He thought about the strange symbols appearing across Willow Creek, the men in suits hunting them, and the looming threat of the ecliptic fleet. If he refused, billions would die, including everyone he cared about. But if he agreed, he risked losing himself entirely. As dawn broke outside, casting pale light through the cracked windows, Alex finally nodded. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's do it." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you, Alex. Whatever happens next, remember this: you are not alone." With renewed determination, they prepared to make their final stand. But as they worked, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest battles were yet to come, not just against the Ecliptic or the Obsidian Initiative, but within himself.